Jesus Ferreira certainly did not make a great first impression with U.S. men's national team, and I can say that because he certainly didn't make a very good first impression with me. I mean, Berhalter called him a false nine and heaped praise on his playmaking and connecting ability, but there was one major problem. He wasn't scoring goals, and he wasn't getting in goal-threatening areas. And this was a major problem because at the time and now, the U.S. men's national team really struggled to score goals. But guys, I think it's time that we have a little conversation. I think it's time that we have a little confrontation with our first impression versus what this player has become now, and that is an absolute goal-scoring menace in MLS, one of the leading scorers in MLS right now. And it's not just that he's scoring goals, it's the way that he's scoring goals and everything else that he's doing at the same time. In this video, we are going to talk about Jesus Ferreira, el hombre de Santa Marta, Colombia. The Colombian American that is rounding into a guy I think is one of the best strikers in MLS right now. And notice I didn't say false nine, I didn't say playmaker, I said striker. We're going to take a look at what he's doing right now that is making him so effective and why I think it is time for everyone out there to throw out their first impression of Jesus Ferreira, turn over a new leaf and look at this guy for what he's doing right now, because what he's doing right now is terribly exciting. All that and more on this episode of The Yank Report. What's up? My name is Sam. This is The Yank Report, the show where we talk about the U.S. men's national team. If you're into that type of discussion, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, become a member, all that good stuff. Let's get into Mr. Jesus, but before we do, let's have a message from today's sponsor. Our partners at BetOnline continue to be your #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, including the latest odds on the NBA playoffs, fights, and even next season's futures. And don't forget that the MLB is back as well. Who are you picking to win the World Series? BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started, so head to the website today or use your mobile device to join or use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts. Let me tell you a little story. Whenever I went to the U.S.'s game against Jamaica in Austin, the World Cup qualifier, I actually saw Jesus Ferreira in the stadium. Whenever I was going to the concession stands, he was like 15 feet away from me standing with some other dudes, and I remember looking at him and thinking, man, Jesus Ferreira is a great soccer player, but he's just not quite international level. That was my opinion of him at that time. And even whenever he started getting call-ups with the national team later on in qualifying and that game that he played against El Salvador, where he had that big miss and where he was dropping back and Pulisic was dropping back, I was criticizing a lot about how Jesus Ferreira and Christian Pulisic were playing together, and I just didn't see it at the time. But upon rewatching that game and upon rewatching some of Jesus' other games, I just noticed over and over again that he just came up so big in so many areas, not just in front of the goal, but in other areas as well. But in front of the goal, what he was doing was being goal dangerous, and that's the first thing that I really look for in any striker. Are they goal dangerous? And that caused me to look back at some of Jesus' other FC Dallas games and the fact that he is the #1 striker for FC Dallas right now coming into the season with that DP contract. I wanted to see what he was doing, and there were a few involvements that really jumped off the page for me. Let's take a look at his recent goal against Colorado. He received the ball at the top of the box. He turns, quickly shoots, and slots it past the keeper. This was such a nice goal. This was an absolute striker's goal. This is a goal where FC Dallas didn't work a whole lot. They didn't break the opposition down, but what they were able to do was get the ball to Ferreira at the top of the box. And for those who say he's not a striker, for those who say he's a false nine and isn't goal dangerous, this goal, this turn is absolutely beautiful, and his accuracy in that shot. You can tell that he's got a ton of confidence right now. Let's take a look at the game against Portland, where he arrives as the second runner into the box. The first runner dummies the ball and leaves it nicely for Ferreira. Now, the important thing here is that Ferreira beat his man to the spot. Ferreira got there with confidence, and he got there with a will and desire and know that that's the spot that he needed to be to score the goal. And whenever he arrived at the ball, I mean, that finish was something else. He put it on the crossbar and bounced down behind the keeper. Absolutely an emphatic finish. And that was like right at the beginning of Ferreira's hot streak right now in MLS. Now, I kind of cheated with the next one. This was from last season, but it was just absolutely filthy, and I felt like I had to include it. This is a game against RSL where Ferreira has two defenders in front of him, and he cuts one way, cuts the other, and just leaves these defenders completely out of the play. and then hits what I like to call the Landon Donovan finish. I think it was Landon Donovan's first goal against Algeria. I'm not 100% sure if that's correct, but he slotted it top bins right over the keeper's shoulder. That's exactly what Ferreira does here. Just a phenomenal goal, and you get to see how much quality this guy has, not just as a goal scorer, not just as a finisher, but as an all-around soccer player. It's on display right here. Now, his most recent goal in MLS was, I think it was something special. It was against SKC, and he receives the ball in the box with a few defenders in front of him. He beats the first defender. He has a feint to get by the second defender, and then he just rifles a shot to the back post. I mean, this is the type of goal that you see in the EPL with top strikers scoring. This is a high-level goal. This isn't just something that, Jesus Ferreira lucked into. This is a striker's goal of the highest order, and seeing him do that, seeing him that confident is really exciting, not just as a fan of Jesus Ferreira, but as a fan of the U.S. men's national team, and especially considering what's going on with the other strikers in the pool right now. Having a striker that confident taking players on and hitting a really nice shot. Very exciting. Now, I wanted to be fair here. I did include one of his misses. In the game against Panama, this was a really nice chance that Gio Reyna really created. He had that no-look through ball over to Luca De La Torre. And De La Torre slots it across for Ferreira. But the important thing on this play is that Ferreira's playing on the back shoulder of the defender, but he knows that he's not going to beat the defender to the near post. So he holds up, creates some space for himself, and then points exactly where he wants De La Torre to pass the ball. De La Torre puts it there. Ferreira's unable to finish, but it's just another moment, another example, another very recent example that just shows how goal dangerous this player is, how intelligent he is, how good his runs are, and how willing he is to get in the correct positions to score goals. Now, he wasn't able to score on this play, but in MLS, he is scoring right, left, and center right now, and it's really exciting. I know a lot of people point to that opportunity and maybe point to one of his other U.S. men's national team opportunities against El Salvador and say that he's not finishing, he's not a great finisher. I've said this before, I'll say it again. No striker is going to finish every opportunity. Even Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo don't finish every opportunity. The important thing for a striker is to put yourself in positions to score goals. Be goal dangerous. Beat that defender to the ball. Figure out where you need to be in order to receive the ball in the box. Once you get the ball in the box, beat that defender. Create a yard of space for yourself and slot. Put a ball on frame that's going to be tough for the keeper to save. And Ferreira's been doing that lately, and it's been paying dividends, making him one of the highest scorers in MLS. But it's not just his goal scoring that makes him effective. This is an all-around soccer player. And one of the things that really stood out to me whenever I was able to watch him live in the game in Orlando against Panama is how often he is looking to make runs in behind. It's something he's very effective at. And for those who say that he's a false nine and isn't really a striker, this is the area where I point to and say, but these are striker runs that he's making, and he's doing them on a regular basis and is very effective. I think the one against Panama was the one that kicked off the sequence where he actually ends up scoring the goal. He's able to hold the ball up after a run in behind, and after like an 11-12 pass sequence or something like that, he's able to finish it off. But it was his run in behind that started the whole thing. And it's a sign of things to come, because as we'll go down the list, you'll see a few more. One against SKC, he had a nice run through the channel, actually beats the defender to the ball and is able to put a shot on goal to test the keeper. He isn't able to score right there, but man, oh man, just to see that run in behind that is so effective and has really been missing a lot from the U.S. men's national team is exciting to see. Then we have two from Colorado. The first one is where he times his run against the last defender. He beats the last defender and is just one-on-one with the keeper. Now, I've seen so many times, especially in MLS, where players are one-on-one with the keeper on a breakaway, and they absolutely lose their minds. They have way too much time. They lose their composure, and they're unable to slot away. Not Jesus Ferreira in this moment. I mean, he just so coolly just puts it right by the keeper, and then he leaves himself with kind of a difficult finish, but he's able to put it away. Just a really impressive, shows his skills, shows his intelligence, and shows his speed, which is something that I think is underrated. Later on in the game, he gets another one of these. This is where I think he had an opportunity for a hat trick, so he gets in behind, and he definitely goes for the shot on goal. He's unable to finish there, but it just shows how often he is on the back shoulder, the last defender. He's creating space for himself. He's drifting out into different areas. He's making the defense have to keep tabs on him at all time, and he's finding these runs in behind, and once he gets them, he's able to do effective things with it. Now, I really enjoy watching Jesus Ferreira in MLS this season, and it's not just because of his goal scoring and how dangerous he is, but he is such a special soccer player when he's on the ball. His playmaking ability is something that I don't think anybody denies about him. It's the reason that got him in the national team in the first place. It's the reason why he earned that label as a false nine, and it's not something that's gone away now that he's on this hot streak as a striker. In fact, it may have improved a little bit. One of the plays I want to call your attention to was a play against Panama in the last round of World Cup qualifiers where Gio Reyna plays a ball into him where Jesus has kind of dropped back and found a nice pocket of space in front of the center backs. Gio continues his run, and Jesus plays a nice chip ball over the top that puts Gio one-on-one with the keeper. Gio's unable to finish this opportunity, but it's just another really nice moment of where you see Jesus Ferreira just being a really good soccer player, being a number 10 and a number 9 at the same time, and finding a really nice ball to create an opportunity for the U.S. Now, this was a pass from last season, but it was just so saucy that I had to include it. This was against Houston, and Jesus, for whatever reason, I didn't even see it. The player wasn't even on the TV screen at the time, but Jesus decides to play this cross-field cross through the box into the final third for an oncoming runner. And it's just one of the prettier passes that you're going to see in MLS. It's just a really intelligent pass, or a pass that leads to an opportunity for FC Dallas. And one of those that Jesus Ferreira is one of the few players in the U.S. Men's national team pool that's even going to attempt this thing. And the last one is one that you're going to see a lot of times from Jesus Ferreira whenever he's around the box. I didn't include all of them, but there's been a lot of little moments where Jesus has just had really nice moments where he's created opportunities for other people for the U.S. Here's one that he did against New England, and he's at the top of the box. His teammate finds him at the top of the box, and then Jesus plays this really, really nice through ball. I mean, this through ball that reminds you of like Kaká, one of the great playmakers of all time. Maybe a Mesut Ozil through ball. Just a really nice through ball that beats the entire back line of New England and gives FC Dallas an opportunity. Something that Ricardo Pepi does a little bit of this stuff, but not with the frequency and not with the accuracy and the flair of Jesus Ferreira, and it's just so damn impressive. And look, the last thing I want to say about Jesus is something that I think is just a prerequisite if you're going to be the striker for the U.S. men's national team, and that is tireless pressing. Jesus Ferreira is everywhere on the field, and that's evident to see if you're watching him in person. You don't always get to see that whenever you're watching the broadcast because they kind of cut off a lot of the field. But Jesus Ferreira is absolutely everywhere, and his defensive work rate is really impressive, and it creates a lot of turnovers. He's almost like Josh Sargent-esque in his ability to be the first line of defense for the FC Dallas and for the U.S. men's national team. And look, I'm not going to track down a bunch of instances where Jesus Ferreira created pressing turnovers and Jesus Ferreira was defensively started a break. That's really hard to find, but I will still show the stats from FBref just so you can get a sense of how good this guy has been defensively on the defensive side of the ball. He gets all these plaudits for what he does with the ball at his feet, but whenever he doesn't have the ball at his feet, whenever the opposition has the ball, he still finds a way to be very effective. Now, to be fair, it should be noted that a lot of these stats reflect last season, whenever Jesus Ferreira wasn't playing as a striker, he was playing as a attacking midfielder or sometimes a winger, so that should be considered. But I think even once this season progresses and we get a full season of him playing as a striker, you'll see that he is still one of the elite defensive strikers in all of MLS. And that's something that's really exciting for a national team that needs the tip of the spear, the striker position, the furthermost forward to be a tireless runner. And that's exactly what we get with Jesus Ferreira. Now, look, I know just as well as you do that there's going to be a lot of people that just jump right into the comment section that say, yeah, Jesus is a great player, but he's not a true number 9. He's not a classic number 9. He's not a great finisher, this, that, and the other. There's a lot of people that aren't even going to watch the video and are just going to go right to the comment section and say that. So I think I think we need to sit down and have a discussion about what a traditional number 9 actually is, because it's a conversation that always a little bit frustrates me. Now, when we talk about a classic number 9, I think what we're talking about is that English style big brooding number 9 that is you can play long balls up to, solid hold up player, really strong, and is able to finish balls in the air chipped into the box. I think that's sort of what we think of, and there's a lot of great examples of that. I think probably the best classic number 9 in the world right now would be Karim Benzema, although I wouldn't limit him to that. He's certainly an incredible soccer player all the way around. Robert Lewandowski is another example of a great number 9. I think Lukaku kind of fits this description really well. But I think it's fair to say that there's always been non-traditional number 9s, especially once you step outside the English game and kind of venture out into other areas of the world. That type of striker is not always the norm, and it's not as if those type of strikers are the only ones that are effective. I mean, even looking at the top strikers in the EPL right now, if you look at Man City, yeah, they have Gabriel Jesus, but more often than not, they're playing like Phil Foden in that false 9 role. And he's operating a lot of the ways that Jesus Ferreira does. Whenever you look at Chelsea, they have Lukaku, but Kai Havertz is often that tip of the spear, that top striker. And he performs the duties of both sort of an attacking midfielder and a striker. He's arriving in the box, but he's also drifting out and creating space. And, you know, Roberto Firmino, of course, sort of created that Liverpool role and is one that everybody talks about whenever they talk about guys like Josh Sargent and kind of non-traditional strikers. But honestly, even when we get past the modern era, I think of some of the great strikers of, like, even Thierry Henry, I think is someone that was never really a classic number 9. He had tremendous amount of speed and skill, but he started his career as a winger, and then once he got to Barcelona, he kind of drifted off into the wing as well. He was a player that always looked to find space and create for others, and just was an all-around soccer player. And then whenever you look at the two great scorers of our time, Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi, I'm not sure either of those were traditional strikers. Certainly neither of them were traditional strikers. Maybe Ronaldo more so than Messi. But even still, I think that they both look to kind of drift around and create space and find the ball in different areas. So the argument of not a classic number 9, I understand why you would want a classic number 9. I understand the role of a classic number 9, but I don't understand putting that above all other things, because there's been a ton of effective strikers, a ton of world-class, best in the world, Ballon d'Or strikers that were not traditional classic number 9. And I don't understand why that is such a hindrance against someone like Jesus Ferreira, who is so clearly so skilled in so many different areas and has so much potential for the U.S. men's national team and beyond. Now, look, I am certainly not saying that Jesus Ferreira is going to be good as Thierry Henry or Cristiano Ronaldo or even Phil Foden or Kai Havertz or anybody like that. All I'm saying is that idea of the traditional striker versus the non-traditional striker, to me, it's an unnecessary discussion. To me, it's more about who's effective in that particular system, in that particular role, who can get the job done, because we've seen examples of both get it done throughout history, and I don't understand why so much ink is wasted on that particular discussion. With all that being said, I'm curious of you guys' thoughts on Jesus Ferreira. Are those misses from the El Salvador game and the Panama game just too much for you to handle, or are you never going to get past that? Or are you starting to kind of come around on this guy, seeing how many goals he's scoring in MLS and seeing the quality of those goals and seeing the quality of the goals that he's creating for others and even the ones that he's missing where he's just getting in phenomenal positions? Are you starting to see what this guy could be? Are you starting to get excited, or are you still holding off? Are you still waiting for one of our other strikers to step up and get the job done? Let me know in the comment section what you're thinking about Jesus Ferreira. As always, si puede hablar español, dígame un comentario en español. If you want the Yank Report in podcast form, you can absolutely get it anywhere podcasts are found on the Yank Report podcast. Those downloads just keep going up, so I appreciate everybody for tuning into the Yank Report podcast. For more unbridled support and fanaticism on Jesus Ferreira, you can catch me on Twitter, and I'm usually live tweeting FC Dallas's games, getting really excited whenever he scores goals. My Twitter is @ReportYank. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking the video. If you really want to support the channel, you can become a member. Shout out to my Tier 2 members, Manuel Oliveras, Mike Irish, Chris Matassa, and Matthew Doyle. Guys, thank you so much for watching. My name is Sam, and this is the Yank Report.